Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Karen. So these are my top two podcasts. They are the Prediction Podcast and they are the Ryan Astrology Podcast. And I put them right at the beginning of the year. So welcome, everyone. And really quick, you can sign up for my Patreon at Patreon.com/Rontowski, where we do tarot and 2 extra episodes of Paranormal Karen that are 30 minutes long, but they're just me. Unless you're sick of me, then that's a bad idea. And Paranormal Karen paraphernalia, hats, t-shirts, mugs, up at karenrontowski.com. Click on the shop link. They're really cute. In fact, I'm buying my own t-shirt from me because they're that cute. I made sure we got special girl ones that kind of have a scoop neck that aren't just a t-shirt. And okay, let's get to it. We are taping this on December 16th, and I just got home. Ryan, this is how it's literally snowing like inches per hour, per half hour, and I still made it to yoga.
Oh, God. Good for you.
It wasn't bad when I left, and I do a double class. I do a conditioning class and then a yoga class, and I kept looking, and I was like, and then driving home, I was like, 15 minutes too late, Karen. 15 minutes too late. But I made it in. I'm in for 2 days. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I mean, like, I feel like now I can't even complain. It's 50 degrees in LA. I mean, like, I'm shivering and wearing my coat indoors. Like, but it's snowing where you are. I can't even fathom.
Well, I had a gig for tonight that was canceled last night. That's how, and then I have a gig for tomorrow night that I'm on the fence of. I wonder if I wish it's being canceled because it's 2 hours away. And the roads might be perfectly fine, but every gig is 2 hours away from where I live for now. But it's actually, now that I'm in and I have my paints and everything and the day settled, it'll be okay. So, but my dear, you have been looking at 2023, and the predictions episode was great. It was a lot of totally different things, but yet the same thing. So it's a little of both. So tell me, my friend, where would you like to begin? How does this look?
I'm so curious to hear that episode with the psychics and other people that you have on. I would love to know what they have to say. And hopefully it aligns with what I have to say.
Well, I bet it will. And also, it wasn't as much like the years looking like this. There wasn't a lot of the year looking like this. It was kind of like, this thing is going to go like this, and then this thing is going to go like this. So I think you'll give us the year sweeping, how the year is going to sweep across.
Okay, you're literally spot on, because the last couple of times we've done this, we've gone like month by month and talked like very like fine-grained about the year ahead, and I can't do that this time. Like, this time, like, there are 4, kind of 5 things maybe that I would like to touch on, and it's really just these like planetary movements that are going to tone the entire year. It's not about like month to month to month and what's going to happen to any given sign. It's that like things are changing in 2023 in foundational ways. And I'm very excited, but also so like concerned. I hope.
And you know what, too? I'm going to read something to you.
Please.
That, my friend, there's so much going on right now and changing, and there's so much good information. So my friend sent me this from someone on Facebook named Lee Harris, who I think I know. I'm not sure. There could be a lot of Lee Harrises. Let's not be. We all might know a Lee Harris, just not the same one. And this is so true. There is a major identity shift going on, and it's going on at the collective level and equally in each of us. We're also healing faster, changing faster, and even those of us who've been around the block with this kind of stuff. I'm 25 years into this, and I'm sure some of you watching might be 50 or more years into this. Things have changed very rapidly, and so predicting is starting to get harder. It doesn't mean you can't try, doesn't doesn't mean you can't give it a go. But for those of you who are confused about that, that's why. It's why even the events of the last few months have not necessarily gone the way that certain people expected. We're being asked to come more into somebody called and hung up in the middle of that. Hold on. We are being asked to come more into the now and to live from the now, and more importantly, to recognize that we are co-creators of our destiny. So,
oh my God,
it makes sense. And the two things also, the identity thing is very, very, very important. But I'm going to hit that at the end. But so tell us, what are your concerns? And I have to say, you're an optimist guy. You're not a pessimist.
I know. That's just like shaking me at this point. First of all, loved what you read. And like, actually, now I feel validated in the sense that like the last time we talked 6 months ago, if you remember, if the listeners
June.
remember, I had a shrooms trip. And on that, like, I just had a very big message from the universe of predictions aren't important anymore. Like, stop trying to predict because it's changing so rapidly. Like, you can't possibly tell anyone where they're going to be 6 months from now, you know? And so I'm so glad that like Lee Harris basically said that predictions are going to be harder. Like it's hard right now to say where anything is going to be. It makes me think of like when I did readings just before the pandemic, you know, like I'd be telling people like, oh, wow, like this is a year of travel for you. Looks like it's great for travel, right? Like, or like the energy is there for it in the chart, but little did we know, like, I mean, we knew something was coming. We all kind of predicted something, but like a lot of what I know I said pre-pandemic obviously changed when lockdown happened. Like, so predictions got hard at that point. And then I got that message like so clearly 6 months ago. And I've really tried to stop predicting in this past 6 months since the last time we did an episode together. And like I'll still forecast, and I'm going to forecast on this episode, but I have to speak more energetically. Like I can't be so set in stone about it. Like that's why I can't go month to month to month right now, because I don't know. Like I have no idea where things are going. I know where the planets are going, and I know how these energies have played out historically, and we're going to talk about it. But I can't say it in a way that's like so certain. I just have to say, here are ways I think this might play out, you know, like in a larger sense. And so I've got like a few themes that I think I want to hit on. Starting with Saturn, I guess.
And I have to say, I went through a weird thing where I felt like I always love it when clients confirm, because I do a lot of predicting, and I like it when I always appreciate it when sends me a confirmation, but there was a place where I regrouped, and I am still making predictions and it feels good, but I had to step back and regroup and take some time off and go, hey, what is this? Maybe I'm the last person making predictions and maybe I'm crazy, but I'm feeling it a little bit, but I understand what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, no, and it's like I'm still making predictions too because people want that. Like, and so I'll give it to the best of my ability, but I'm trying to leave it open-ended or at least provide multiple options.
Right.
Like I'm trying to not be so
sure. And I mean that in a good way, because even I always tell people this is the trajectory you're on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so that can help. But go ahead. I keep interrupting you, but I love talking.
Yeah.
To you. Go ahead.
Oh my God. No, please. Oh my God. But like, that's literally the point. It's like, there are things happening in 2023 that are huge, and it could go beautifully or it could wreck us. Like it's literally such a prism. of opportunity here. And like, it's really up to us individually, of course, and the individuals make up the collective impact. And it really, it's like the major themes for 2023 are largely outer planet movements, which are collective in impact. But again, the collective is decided by individuals. So it's how we all handle it individually. So that's like, I think the number one thing I want to say really is like, God, I hope all of us choose to use this to the best of our ability as we can, you know, to our capacity. Because it's going to contribute to the collective impact here.
Right.
Number one thing I got to say. Okay, but as far as astrology goes, astrologically, let's break it down. The first thing is, I think weirdly we're gonna like ease into 2023, and like I don't think it's gonna feel like a shift. Like the calendar year does not. It doesn't follow astrology, right? Like that's the Gregorian calendar is not astrology. So we're going to go into 2023. It's not going to feel any different, in my opinion. Okay. I think we're going to get the January, February, potentially like end of January and February. We're going to start feeling some sort of momentum pickup because Mars is retrograde right now, and it will move forward on January 12th. But that Mars is a personal planet, so that's going to impact all of us just personally. This isn't a collective thing, but it is a big deal that Mars is going to start moving forward because Mars does not go retrograde very often. It's retrograde in Gemini currently, but by the time it leaves Gemini, which is I think March 25th, it will have been in Gemini for almost 8 months, which is insane. Like Mars is in a sign for like 2 months at a time max, usually.
And is it Mars the war planet or the rage planet?
Yes. Okay. Yes. And like I like in my own life, in my clients' lives, the things that I've seen Mars do in this retrograde, it's really been nuts. Like people who have been married for like over a decade are getting divorced. Like tons of things are happening in this retrograde. Like best friends are, you know, all of a sudden bickering and fighting in these ways that they never dealt with before. And it doesn't matter how much I tell anyone, and I know it myself, and I'm dealing with it myself. And like, it doesn't matter how much you prepare someone, you never really know how the energy is actually going to play out for you in your physical reality, you know? And it's easy to forget it. Like myself as an astrologer, I can easily forget, oh God, I'm getting frustrated by this person right now. I'm lashing out at them. Oh, Mars is retrograde. You know, it's so easy to forget that in the moment. It's so easy. It's different than like a Mercury retrograde. For some reason, Mercury retrograde, like you can always kind of remember it. Like Mercury is the closest planet to the sun. It's like we always remember when Mercury is retrograde, but Mars retrograde is playing out so differently right now. So I'm excited for Mars to just move forward and leave Gemini. So it'll move forward in January, mid-January. So I think in general, we'll start feeling a little bit of momentum again, picking up. Like we won't be as sleepy. Like I think a lot of people have been tired. There's the sickness. Like Mars has a lot to do with illnesses, and like influenza, and a lot of people are dealing with that. So I think as it moves forward, hopefully we'll be okay. So that's January, mid-January. Hopefully we'll start feeling some level of like, okay, energy's coming back. Yay. And that's end of January and February. But then March hits, and it's like I've been struggling to predict at all post-March for anyone because the energy shifts happening in March are like monumental. Saturn is changing signs for the first time in 2.5 years. Pluto is changing signs for the first time in 15 years. Like, and Mars is finally getting out of Gemini for the first time in 8 months. Like, it's a three huge planetary shifts happening in March. And I think that's an adjustment. I don't know that any of us are really going to feel it in March, but I think March and April, like, we're really going to be easing into, I don't even know if it's going to be easing. It's just like, we're going to feel things changing fundamentally. First off being Saturn changing signs. That's going to happen on March 7th. So Saturn has been in Aquarius. Well, as of March 7th, once it changes signs, it moves into Pisces. At that point, it will have been in Aquarius for 2.5 years. But even prior to that, it was in Capricorn for 2.5 years. So we will have been and Saturn rules both Aquarius and Capricorn. So on March 7th, when Saturn moves into Pisces, it finally, for the first time in 5 years, it's in a sign it does not rule. So the last 5 years have been so Saturnine in general. And Saturn is hard. It is restrictions, lockdowns, right? Like it is rules, regulations. It's all of this like really tense energy that's like kept a lot of us like shut inside. And it's going to change very rapidly. Saturn's the last of the inner planets. So until, only a couple hundred years ago, Saturn, it's the planet we can see with the naked eye. That's the outermost planet we can see with the naked eye. So it's always represented boundaries. Like we didn't think anything existed beyond Saturn. So it's such a concrete, very difficult, dense energy, and it rules like matter. It's like the kind of idea that I like to say is like, if we didn't have Saturn, we'd all just be energy floating in the universe, right? So and that's it. So Saturn brings energy into matter. So it's dense, it's hard, it gives us hard lessons in life. And so it's been strong for the last 5 years in 2 signs it's ruled. And now it's going to move into Pisces. It is not strong in Pisces. Pisces Pisces is like disillusionment. Saturn is boundaries, and Pisces dissolves any structure, period. So it is such a conflicting energy. And I have no idea how this is going to play out. I mean, I know historically how it has played out, and we can talk about it, but like either Saturn is going to toughen our Piscean energy, and Pisces is the visionary, it's the romantic, it's like idealistic, it's like the dreamer, it's beautiful, and Saturn might toughen that for us, or Pisces might soften Saturn, and maybe we'll become more mystical and spiritual, and our boundaries won't feel like they need to be in place so seriously as they have been in the last 5 years. I don't know which way it's going to go. I have no idea. But it's one of the
funny.
Two.
Today I woke up and actually I wrote a joke about, oh my God, then we'll take a break after this joke. And my joke, this is true. I am going somewhere with this. It always sounds like, but I wrote a joke where I was like, my dad was mean. And when he worked at GE, the reason he didn't get a promotion is because every time he had a work evaluation, they said he had no empathy. So literally a company that makes war weapons told my dad he didn't have any empathy. That's I know, right? It's hysterical, but it's true. But in that lesson today of telling that joke and learning, I was all of a sudden very aware how it's very hard for me to be soft, or it's hard work to be soft, or how sometimes soft people or soft moments bother me. So it's so interesting that today, now you're talking about that softening.
Yes.
But let's take a minute. We'll take a break right here. We'll be right back. Oh my God, so much.
Many people are unaware just how much hypnotherapy can help them, or think it's only to help lose weight or quit smoking. But there is so much more hypnotherapy can do. It can help with stress, anxiety, insomnia, phobias, performance enhancement, connecting with your spirit guides and higher self. You can even discover past lives and your life between lives. Heal traumas, break habits, find your deepest truth, or just have fun discovering who you really are, all from the comfort of your home. I'm Monique Pliakis. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I want to help you. Schedule a free consult by going to www.innerstandingshypnosis.com. That's INNERSTANDINGSHYPNOSIS.com. Innerstandings Hypnosis. Find your power and ignite your inner light.
Okay, Ryan, here we go. Keep going. We just did a terrible joke about my childhood and softness, and now
it was spot on. You talked about your dad, and Saturn is the father figure. So you were literally so spot on, actually. I love it. So, like, the Saturn moving into Pisces is, I mean, it's a very interesting energy overall, because Saturn and Pisces have very little to do with each other. The reason, like, I'm hopeful. I'm an optimist, as you said. So I hope that this works out to our benefit. And I think the reason why it may really is because Neptune is also in Pisces, and Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. So in a way, Saturn's, it's not strong in Pisces in general, but also it's answering to a planet that's in its home sign, So I hope Neptune helps soften Saturn. However, there's a weird history of Neptune and Saturn. Whenever they talk, whenever they're conjunct, which is what's happening here, they're going to be in the same sign for 2.5 years, starting March 7th. Mm-hmm. Whether they're conjunct or in opposition or even in good aspects with each other, like a trine or a sextile, they have such a weird mass impact on people. Like, there's beautiful things that happen, but also tragic things that happen. Like, I would say, in the the opposition happened. Saturn and Neptune were opposing each other. 1936 to like 1937, right around then. That was when Nazi Germany was in full swing. There was the Spanish Civil War. Like, so many things occur that actually cause, like, I mean, it's not just, I wouldn't say cause, wrong word, but there's mass panic that happens with Pisces in general. And it's kind of irrational with Neptune. It's like we really snowball, very easily. We can spin out of control. And Saturn makes it very real, though. And whenever Saturn and Neptune are talking in any way, there's often wars. There's often huge wipeouts of life. And sometimes it's so tragic where it's like, not just like, okay, I mean, like, in the same time frame that I was talking about in 1936, 1937, like Stalin imprisoned millions of people and killed like over 700,000 people. So, it was called the Great Purge. Like, it's like there's a wipeout of life, and sometimes it is also so tragic that it's like it drives people to suicide. So there can be mass suicides even. And that's what's so sad, in my opinion. It's so tragic that people choose to take their own life because of what's happening. I think, like, the best way I can put it for people is, I mean, there's a lot of historical references I'm happy to give, but the best way I can put it, 2 ways. One is Romeo and Juliet. That is Saturn and Pisces, where it's this beautiful tragedy, right? Where it's like, oh, there's this loveliness of Pisces, of like romanticism and unconditional love. And Romeo and Juliet loved each other so much, right? But there's the hardness of Saturn at the same time, and they chose to kill themselves in the name of love. Like, are you kidding? that's so Romeo and Juliet is Saturn and Pisces. But then also, you know who had Saturn and Pisces? This is a very common example, but it's just like the truest example I could give. Kurt Cobain had Saturn and Pisces. He was in his Saturn return when he took his own life. So Saturn came back to Pisces when he took his own life. And you know, like, it's that the same Romeo and Juliet vibe. You know who had Saturn and Pisces as well? Courtney Love. Like, right? So, and she, I mean, I'm not an expert in the pop culture of his death, but like she played a role in the romanticism of his death. Like, they were together when he took his own life, and they were both dealing with Saturn and Pisces again, you know? So there's just this like intense romantic energy where we can romanticize pain, right? To
oh my God,
a default.
Oh my God. And this country is, it's like worry and sadness, and the victim is rewarded. And I have to stop myself from doing it. I have to hear it in my head. And I ask this all the time when people are getting ready for relationships. Or they're like, I've been single forever. I say, when you fantasize about a relationship, do you see your partner eventually leaving you? And they all say yes.
Oof.
Yeah. And so a quick question, should we all be looking at where our Saturn is? Because I think I'm in my Saturn return.
Are you? Actually, it's funny because I have your chart up. Oh yeah, you have Saturn and Pisces. So it's so funny. I pulled your chart up before we even got on the call. I was like, I knew that your chart was, I knew it that I was going to reference your chart. I just like, part of me was like, I want to read Karen's chart during this. Yeah, you have your Saturn in Pisces. It's at 15 degrees of Pisces. So I actually don't think it's going to get to 15 degrees in 2023. I think it'll be 2024 by the time it gets there. But I mean, your midheaven is at 3 degrees of Pisces. It's going to get there quick in 2023. And midheaven is, I mean, that's peak reputation, which is actually, I think, a really good thing. This is like, Pisces is dreams, right? Saturn makes things real. It brings things into physical matter. So this is like potentially a dream come true moment for you that will happen. I'm literally looking exactly in April. You might have, seriously, like the first half of April for you, you might have some career opportunity that just like blows your mind wide open. You're like, I really could have only ever dreamed of this happening. It really might happen for you. It's a beautiful thing.
That would be excellent. I have noticed that I feel like messages from my guides have been showing me the energy of how to manifest, where you need to be, what you need to ask for. And I will, I'll quote Carolyn Miss, or I'll paraphrase Carolyn Miss. You have to get all the shit out so that you're an open vessel to do this.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So, but if I'm in that Pisces, Saturn Pisces thing, does that mean I have to watch out for the crazy also? Like, could that potential go the other way? Like, could I say something that gets me in trouble?
Yes. And oh my God, I'm so glad you're bringing this up. Also, I just checked your chart, and it's going to be April of 2024 when your Saturn return is exact. But you're going to feel it starting once Saturn enters Pisces. It kind of begins the Saturn return for you. But yes, you're right. Like, it can go the opposite, where there's this okay, so Neptune entered Pisces like around 2011, 2012. And this was a huge emergence of the spiritual community, right? You remember 2012. Everybody thought the world was going to end. Everybody had their quote unquote awakening spiritually. Like, cool. Like, and a lot, like, and astrology has picked up, right? So much.
Tarot too, huge.
Yes. Like, these things have really come into mainstream consciousness. And that is a huge, like, hugely in part to Neptune moving into Pisces. Now, Saturn's going to come in, and Saturn restricts, limits, puts boundaries on things, right? So we're going to start having a hard look at where spirituality is faltering. And like, for me, I think about the, you know, like, I mean, you're on TikTok, but like the children
Yeah.
who have like learned one little thing about spirituality, and all of a sudden they think they can put up hours for readings and charge people $333.
Yeah.
It's like the false prophets will be shown. That's going to happen, and it's not just Saturn moving into Pisces; it's also Pluto moving into Aquarius, which we'll get to. But
and I'm going to add something to the false prophets. They don't see their own errors. And I hope I'm not a false prophet, but I always try to lead with my crap. Like I was such a jerk. I try to make sure everybody knows I know I'm a jerk, and they don't think I know everything, right?
Yeah. And look, I don't claim to be an authority on anything. Like I claim to be a student of life and want to always learn. But so I never want to identify as an expert ever, because I want to be continually learning.
Right.
But I would tell you, I would not want to be on your podcast if I thought that was the way you were.
Oh, well, thank you.
I would never. I mean it. I think that you have a phenomenal head on your shoulders. Like
well, thank you.
Respect you. I don't think that you are going to be a false prophet whatsoever. But I think a lot of false prophets will be shown. There's just this, new age spirituality movement that is, I think it's spiritual psychosis. That's like the hot word right now for me.
Oh.
That I think will become a hotter term in 2023, where it's like people fall into spirituality and then they develop such a like fantastical version of it, and they can actually completely disassociate from like what real life is. And it's like spirituality is amazing. Mysticism is amazing. I have these experiences myself that I cannot explain and science cannot explain, but it's real for me and it's my experience. But we're going to have to start dealing with like the fact that science does exist. We do prove certain things about the universe, and like, how do we grapple with that? Like, and for instance, I've recently started like really trying to understand physics and astrophysics and quantum physics.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I don't, and no hate to anybody you've probably had on your podcast who identifies in this way, but people who are like quantum healers, like that word now bugs the crap out of me. At first, like a couple years ago, I was like enamored with the idea of this, right? Or like holographic healing or whatever. But these people are using these terms and quantum physics. And I do believe like everything in the physical turns metaphysical, right? Like there's a metaphysical component to anything physical. But when healers or spiritual people are using physics and quantum physics, especially to try and heal, like it's by far and large wrong, because quantum physicists themselves don't even understand quantum physics. Like they're barely scratching the surface of what quantum physics even is. So for us to take something like quantum physics and then say like, oh, I'm quantum healing you now, like it sounds nice, but it's not real. Like it's just, and that's what Saturn's going to show us. Like Saturn doesn't want anything that's not real. So it's moving into the sign of the mystic of spirituality. And it's going to show us where we're wrong. And it's not to say like spirituality and mysticism doesn't exist. I think it's going to show us like that the universe is more mystical and magical than any of us could possibly comprehend. And if anybody is saying, I have the way, then we're wrong.
Yes.
Like, we don't have it,
Yes, I love that. I think the way is a combination of whatever works for you and a bunch of stuff.
Yes. Like an example is, do you know Joe Dispenza?
Yep.
Okay, so this is maybe like a controversial subject. Like I fell into the Joe Dispenza trap. I have his book, Becoming Supernatural. I resonated with a lot of it. It made sense for me and things I've experienced spiritually, right? But he's a scam artist, and people don't know this. You
are like the third person to tell me this.
Oh my God. Okay, thank God. Like this is the type of stuff that I think Saturn and Pisces is going to bring out, where he literally says he's a neuroscientist. He uses neuroscience, but he is not a neuroscientist. He does not have the degree for it. Like it doesn't exist. He's
Interesting.
literally falsifying himself, and people take it as Bible, and it's not real.
So now
So we have to look at that.
I have to jump off on that a second. Is he not real, or the information he's giving out is not real?
So I don't know. He's not real. That I know. He's not like, I think maybe he's a mystic. Like he definitely has like, he's tapping into something that I do identify with and I've experienced. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But he's claiming to be a level of a scientist that he is not. So
That's interesting.
And that's what messes things up. Like this idea of and this I hate the most. This actually like is something I've been grappling with so hard the last 6 months, really, since we've talked, is this idea of like vibration, right? Everything's vibration. If we vibe higher, then we can change our mindset and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I actually believe it because I feel it and it's worked for me. So like I'm not saying that this isn't real,
Mm-hmm.
but he uses this, and plenty of people use the idea of vibration, but they have a fundamental misunderstanding of vibration and like how it works. And he will talk about like atoms and molecules and their vibrational energy, trying to talk about it in scientific terms, but he's wrong. Like the actual science of it is not true. And we have to look at observable science. And I'm not saying all scientists are factual, right? Like they are
Science is
prove...
is a fluid thing. Not that it is there aren't facts.
Correct.
But what we learn as we go. And then we learn that might be wrong, and then that might be right.
Exactly. And I also have to like, all of this just blows my mind. Like I could talk about this forever, where it's like this, okay, like 6 months ago, I wouldn't have said any of this to you, but now this is what I'm saying to you. But 6 months from now, maybe my mind is going to completely change on all of this, where it's like, we just have to be more open to the possibilities of what is true or false. Like nothing can be dogmatic. We can't settle into some sense of like ultimate truth right now. That's not where things are. Like we can't. So I have to look at the fact that science is showing vibration, quote unquote, and raising your vibration. Science shows this actually doesn't exist. And spiritual people are using raising your vibration in scientific terms, but it's actually not science. Like it's not real.
Would it be frequency, or is that the same problem?
No, yeah, that's like, well, and that's where I'm like, I'm not a scientist and I'm not a physicist. So like I kind of struggle with the language of this. But it's like it's both. It's frequency and vibration. I think it's kind of interchangeable. But it doesn't work that way. Like it just doesn't, it's like we have this feeling of it though, right? Like I can assess my current mood and identify it. And then I can say, okay, what's the mood above that? I need to get to that. And I can like vibrate right higher, but it's not really vibration. And like somebody like Joe Dispenza, who in his book, Becoming Supernatural, has a literal chart of vibrational energy and moods, and said like literally shows vibrations in this chart and says like, here's what this emotion vibrates as. It's not real. Like that's not real. I can feel it. I can move myself up to a new mood, and I feel like I'm vibrating. That's just language that I'm using, but it's not science, and we have to respect the fact that we do have observable realities, and that scientists are proving certain things. I'm not saying all of them are they're not prophets either, or gods that we should like put all truth in, right? They're gonna seek out to prove things that they are already wanting to prove. Like, that's just what they do. So that's where I'm saying, like, I'm not even taking all of this as like Bible at all. Like 6 months from now, I might change my mind. But right now, for some reason, I'm moving into this more scientific mindset where I'm trying to understand what we know of the universe while also staying open-minded to the fact that we don't know anything about the universe and how it works. We have no idea. It's chaotic and mysterious and magical. It's spiritual and beautiful, but we also need to look at what we have proven, like what we know to actually be true with how atoms and molecules work, right? Like we have to look at that stuff and acknowledge it at least, and not appropriate it the way spiritual people have been doing,
yes. And we have to remember that because a shift in how you look at things is very different than what we're talking about. And there seems to be this, and this is another thing that I sort of feel like information I was given, but it's almost like in paranormal, people know this. It's not all about going to the light, because the brighter your light becomes, the more you are visible to the dark. Nothing is just one. And also, like, changing, I don't know how else to say this, because I agree totally with what you're saying, but I can also say I did switch my life into different energies. Maybe this actually happens differently. It's the wrong words, but it's like how hard it was here in Utica. And then I switched it with attitude and stuff like that. And it's better. Maybe I'm fooling myself that it's better, but this idea, I think, Ram Dass used to lose his temper all the time.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So this thinking, and there's something awful about all of the, Gandhi used to sleep with kids. Nelson Mandela once gave a speech on why men hit women. It's because to keep you in line. Like, nobody's perfect. And I think that's where we need to get to. There are no gurus. There are just people that have information that you should choose what you resonate with.
Yes. And just be open-minded to it. I'm loving what you're saying so much. Like, I think, like, to just, like, I guess get back to the astrology of it. Because that's why you're having me on it. I know, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm being tangential. And
no, I could talk to you forever. Keep going.
I know. Okay. The Saturn moving into Pisces, right? Especially because we've had Neptune in Pisces since 2011. And actually, Jupiter's been in Pisces. Currently, as we're recording this, Jupiter's at the last degree of Pisces. Both Neptune and Jupiter are the rulers of Pisces. So we've had a lot of this Pisces, fantastical, spiritual, mystical energy going on, and it's great. Like, it's opened so many of us up to, like, the possibilities of what could be, right? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. However, Saturn moving in is going to just, like, force us to confront a lot of the realities of this. And so there's a friend of mine who does human design, and she refers to the I Ching, and there's this saying in the I Ching called the darkening of the light, right? Pisces, it's the two fish. It's represented by the two fish. One is swimming upstream, aka toward the light. One is swimming downstream, aka toward the dark. And I think Saturn, because of its hardship, and it's not really a fun planet. It's never really been a fun planet.
A comedy
it can do cool
planet.
things for you, but it's difficult. I think Saturn's going to darken the lightness of Pisces, right? So we're going to experience over the next 2.5 years, when Saturn moves into Pisces, March 7th, the darkening of the light, right? Where it's not a bad thing, though. It's like we have to understand the darkness in order to see the light. We can't even understand what light really is unless we are embracing the presence of the darkness, right? We have to know that. So Saturn's going to show us that. It's going to put us in dark places in Pisces, which is that place that Kurt Cobain was in when he took his own life, right? So, like, it's like we can't do that. We cannot go that deep into it. Like, please, nobody go there. Like, no Romeo and Juliet storylines here. We cannot do this, but we need to sit in the darkness, because only in sitting in that are we going to witness the light coming forward, right? And we'll see the real light, and we'll see the spiritual aspect actually coming forward.
Yes.
So I think that's what Saturn's going to do. It's going to put us in a deep space. Like, it's going to make us face very existential questions about, like, what reality really is.
And it's interesting because 2023 is a year 7, and I shouldn't say this. This isn't a better or worse, but I feel like some of the light workers got this beforehand so that they won't react to it in 2023.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, yeah. And like, I don't know that, like, I consider myself a light worker, I guess. Like, as an astrologer.
I don't like the phrase. I know. I'm too
we
dark
have to
for
use
that.
the language. It's just the agreed upon language, right? But I'm trying to get ahead of it, right? So I'm not shocked when people are starting to deal with these things, but it's going to happen. Like, I have good friends, like great friends who are already having their minds like blown wide open, where they were quote unquote conspiracy theorists, right? But they're now realizing, oh shit, like I've maybe been wrong. Like, I got wrapped up in something that's deluded me or made me disillusioned from reality. And Saturn moving into Pisces is going to show us where, like, we've had rose-colored glasses, or where we've looked at something like a conspiracy theory and thought that it was what it was, but it's not, right?
Either way, we're all being pulled back to making sense.
Yes. Okay, so let me say some fun things about Saturn.
Okay, let's come back with the fun things. Okay, folks, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, hold on.
Hi, my name is Ashley, and Prithvika is my collection of consciously created crystal and nature-forged jewelry. Prithvika translates to of the earth in Hindi, which represents the natural earth-made materials I'm working with, along with my personal ancestry and grounded energy. Each piece is created through ceremony and science, and completed with being Reiki charged. I'm currently featuring copper mirror necklaces, which can be used for protection and mirror magic. My intention is for your new piece of jewelry to feel like an extension of self, to help bring your desires to fruition and to amplify the magic within you. My Instagram is @Prithvika, and my website is prithvika.com. That's PRTHVEEKA.com.
Okay, Ryan, tell us some fun things about 2023, which is a 7, which also can be lucky.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Well, and I might be incorrect because I'm not a numerology person. I know you know it way more than me, but isn't 7 like a quick energy?
I feel like 8 is the quicker energies. I could be wrong on that, but 7 to me is very internal, very philosophical. You have to watch it when you get a 7, not to get too heavy, because it really is the where am I? What am I doing? How is this going to work out kind of thing? Like, where's my place in the planet? Where do I belong?
Well, and you're obviously like so good at tarot. Like 7 of Cups is what I always think of when I think of the number 7. So do you think there's going to be these options and people having to make these choices and being careful about what they look at?
That is already here. This illusion stuff that you're pulling in. I think it's, this is the thing. I do understand sometimes when people say, you get what you put your attention on. Don't watch the news, and it isn't happening, but it is happening. You know what I mean? Like, you could not look at COVID all you want, but it affected everyone. So that's where I think there's this halfway mark for everything. You can manifest so many things. I'm not going to manifest a modeling career. I don't have that. I guess I can put the energy into it, but I don't think it's going to happen, right? But on the other hand, yes, it's, I don't know how to say it, but when a logical choice was, I want to be a comedian, so I'm going to work on it. Now I'm a comedian, right? Like, I want to study the paranormal, so I'm going to work on it, that kind of choice. And there is some magic behind it. I think things can happen faster, but 7 is a very, it can be a heavy number, but yes, it is going to be choices. And also it's very interesting because the 7 of Cups can also, now you got me talking about tarot, also can be the 7 deadly sins.
Oh.
And I don't know if you've noticed, but it started on TikTok. People are done with celebrities on pedestals. Hooray. Hooray. And I mean that in both ways. I mean, like, not watching their show because you don't agree with them politically, or being so disappointed that they said something bad. All of that. They're just going to be people performing.
Ooh, you're literally striking a chord right now. Like, like, so interesting because Neptune is the planet of celebrity. So Saturn moving into there is going to show us the difficulties of that, right? It's the same thing as the prophets, right? Like a false prophet. It's like we're looking at these idols that we've put on a pedestal, and we're gonna have to tear them down. You're right. Like I'm already seeing this, right? Like there's all this Jennifer Lopez stuff going around right now, crazy. Like where people are realizing, oh, she's talented, but God, apparently she's a terrible human being from all these stories I've seen.
Well, you know what else? I think that this is part of tearing down the patriarchy, which we all participated in. That's not just because it went from hating men to hating middle-aged women to I don't know where it's going next. But I think there's a song out called I Know What Victoria's Secrets Is. She was designed by a guy. Like we don't look like that. So it's going to be, we really do think beautiful people are better than other people. And that's going to come down.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good God. Yes. Because Pisces rules like old Hollywood glamour, that external beauty idea. And like Saturn coming in is going to definitely like harshen all of that energy for sure. The cool things I'm excited about, because there have been many cool things. Like there's a lot of sadness, tragedy. With this Neptune Saturn thing or Saturn and Pisces thing. It's very similar energy, but it's just like extra combined now. But it's Pisces and Neptune, like Neptune's the celebrity, but Pisces is the visionary. And when Saturn making things real, right? It makes our visions and our dreams real. So all of us can take that on a individual level. Like we can absolutely create our own reality, quote unquote. It's like if you can vision it, if you can dream it, you can do it. You can make it happen. This idea of manifestation can absolutely happen, kind of mind over matter stuff. But in a collective sense, it's like the entertainment that has it happened when Saturn and Pisces, this is like kind of materialistic, but it's so cool. The entertainment that has occurred when Saturn and Neptune meet up or talk, it's been incredible. Like huge feats of entertainment have occurred. Like the Star Trek TV series premiered, Sound of Music won Best Picture, like the Tom and Jerry cartoon had its first world premiere broadcast. Like the last time that Saturn and Neptune, I think, were sextile was 1995, 1996, which sextile is a really good energy. It's going to be similar to the fact that Saturn and Neptune are together now. That like Toy Story came out. That was the first full-length computer animated film to be released. Jurassic Park came out, which was the biggest grossing film for 4 years. Lion King came out, which was the highest grossing animated film. Like we've had these like huge feats of entertainment and like the massive progression. So I do think in the next 2.5 years, we're going to see like incredible phenomenons happening in the entertainment sphere, like the visionary, literal vision field. Even like photography is like ruled by Neptune. So I think the cameras themselves in general will improve.
I have something interesting about, because I do feel like, first of all, the internet was the big equalizer, I think, for comics. And some people disagree because now a TikTok star can bump you out of a spot in a comedy club. That will all even out. It will do what it's going to do. But so this is just a weird story. So I always do everything myself. I don't really have managers. And so anything I've kind of gotten through for myself or for friends, for someone recommending me. So not just me, but I always would, there's a way you send your stuff to SiriusXM, and there was a big company that was totally aligned with them. And I don't do well with big companies. And the people that they sent their CDs were making so much money on residuals, so much money. And I was always in the back because I didn't have anybody in front. Well, there was a falling out. And all of us in the back got pushed forward, and holy bananas. I was like, who is playing my stuff on Sirius XM? So there's this weird sort of karmic fall down of the big guy. That's what I think it is. So and there's a weird thing now, because when I go to watch Netflix, I feel like all I'm judging is how better the poster is, because I don't know anyone anymore. I don't know who they are. So I can't tell. Sometimes I try to look at Rotten Tomatoes, but I have a feeling the good small film is going to start to win.
Love that. I haven't even thought of that, but yes, I would say like you're probably spot on there. Like literally with Neptune and Pisces ruling this idea of entertainment and Hollywood and movies, film, Saturn restricts, limits, it focuses. So yes, I think that it could absolutely put a spotlight on more independent artists, right? Versus big Hollywood blockbusters, for sure. For sure. That'd be really interesting to see that play out. Especially because they're just conjunct, so there's going to be like a mixing of these energies. Before, it's always been like a positive action where they weren't conjunct. It was like sextile or trine, which is just a flow of energy. Where like, I mean, what was the years? It was like no, in the 90s, like the X-Files came out, Pulp Fiction, 12 Monkeys, Forrest Gump, like all of these huge entertainment feats that are just iconic came out when these planets were in positive action, but now they're going to combine. I think you're actually so spot on there. That's such an interesting prediction that like maybe Saturn's going to restrict and put a focus on and like the indie artists and make that the new version of entertainment, and then like kill the Netflix of the. I'm not saying Netflix is going to go away, but maybe there's going to be some form where it's like Netflix isn't going to be our only option anymore.
YouTube for free. People are putting up some good movies. You know what else? And then I'm going to let you, because we don't have that much longer. And I just love where you're going and what you're talking about. I feel like too, in the sadness of possibly 2023, the escapism of movies and TV and comedy will be needed. But also, I think there's going to be a point where people are done seeing things blow up, seeing people kill each other. You know what I mean? Like I can't watch any. I will tell you something. Every series action, it's so formulaic. There's cops running in to arrest our hero who's having sex with a woman and then runs off. And then we find out, he was a kind of a bad guy, but we're making him a good guy. And I can't, it's like 2 minutes into some things, I go, I can't, I'm off.
Yes.
And and the age appropriate wife, I will watch. But let's stop there. Let's stop that Woody Allen is sleeping with anyone. I can't watch him anyways, but anyways. Okay, go ahead. I'm so sorry. I won't interrupt you again.
Oh my God, no, you're fine. I mean, like, let me move on really quick from Saturn and Pisces. I know we're like at time almost, but like, let me just move on from that really fast.
You do it.
To say, well, the last thing I'll say actually about it is the funny thing with you is like, I remember the last, I think 2 times we talked, you have been sensing floods, like water disasters. And I don't know if you're still feeling that, but in my research here, Saturn and Neptune, or Saturn and Pisces, period, has brought water disasters, like crazy water disasters. It's like nuts. So that's one big thing that I do think could happen. Like there's this idea of like Saturn and Pisces being like a literal wave maker, so that I'm just really curious to see the water catastrophes. Now I'm really feeling it. Before I was like, I don't know if I'm feeling or seeing it. And we haven't really had much, but I do think it's happening now. I just think you had foresight.
I feel like I do. I worry a lot about Florida. I think Florida Oh, we're about Florida. But you know what's really funny? I don't have a great education. I'm not a dumb person, but I don't have a great education with historical stuff. Remember when they had that big tsunami? Like, I literally thought there were never tsunamis. Like, I was like, that's a tale. That's a Greek myth. And then we had, remember that huge tsunami that happened? It happened on Christmas Day one year.
Oh my God.
It was they made movies about it. I think.
What was it called? The Impossible. Oh my God, what was that?
Yeah, and then
I know what you're talking about. I can't even think of where it was.
Right, because we haven't talked about tsunamis, and they were like in movies, and I never in my life do I remember a tsunami. And then one Christmas, it was like, what the hell was that? Wasn't Neptune the runner of the sea or the boss of the sea? The god of the sea?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the god of the sea. Yes.
Yes. Okay, keep going. Yeah, water. It's so funny. Everyone's water stuff is breaking. My water heater, my water pump.
Yeah. Well, and even it's funny, like, just to combine those themes even of like entertainment and water, right? Like when the 90s happened, the movie Waterworld with Kevin Costner came out. And not just like Waterworld, it was the most expensive film to ever be made at the time. But it had a ton of problems. And at one point, the set itself on the movie Waterworld collapsed because of a hurricane. Like, like that is how powerful water is with these energies. So I do think there's going to be water issues.
All I remember about that movie was everyone was smoking, and I thought, where are they getting fire when there's only water?
Dead. I love it.
Smoker will find a light wherever. Okay, keep going. I'm going to shut up.
And then okay. We'll breeze through this because Pluto is going to go into Aquarius same month, March. So Saturn goes into Pisces March 7th. 2.5 years it'll be there. Then Pluto dips into Aquarius March 23rd. It's only going to stay there until June 11th. Then it retrogrades into Capricorn for the second half of 2023. I'm not really concerned about that. But then 2024 onward, it's basically in Aquarius for 20 years. But we're going to get a teaser. So, like, Pluto is such a slow moving planet. Like, we're not going to feel this viscerally. This is not going to be in our physical reality, but we really want to notice these like larger collective shifts that are happening because Pluto is a collective generational planet. So we need to look at what's happening March 23rd through June 11th, because those themes will probably come back and be bigger themes in 2023 or 2024 for the next 20 years until 2044. But it's a cool energy, in my opinion. I really think so. Like, Pluto is the planet of destruction, but also creation. So it's going to show us the downsides of Aquarian energy, but it's also going to rise up and show us the positive sides. So for the last 15 years, Pluto's been in Capricorn, right? Capricorn rules hierarchies, like power structures. We've seen the very big rise in the last 15 years of capitalism and hierarchical structures, and a lot of people made out well in that, like, you can't like deny that. However, now that Pluto's at the end of Capricorn, we're seeing the very serious repercussions of what that looks like, where systems aren't equalized. And that's what Aquarius does. Coming after Capricorn, it equalizes and creates interconnected systems. So I think Pluto's going to come in over the next 20 years and basically force us into a more even playing field. And that I'm really excited about. I'm very hopeful that we're going to move into the next 20 years and find ourselves like in a more equitable society where we're relying on community support and community aid. But we're also going to see the downsides of Aquarius, which kind of has to do with dogma. It's more about, I think, like, Aquarius, it's so future forward. It's the futuristic sign, but it's like once it latches onto an idea, it's a fixed sign, meaning it doesn't like change. So once it latches onto an idea of the future and how things should be, it thinks it has a solution. It doesn't like to change its mind. So like there will be these, again, false prophets. Like Aquarius rules groups. And so this is where like cults come into play, and the false prophets who develop large followings, which is Aquarius followings. That's gonna come out. We're gonna see the Plutonian effect of Aquarius. So really interested in that, and like the groups and associations people are wrapped up in March 23rd through June 11th. Everybody needs to pay attention to that. Like, who are you following? You know?
So when you said, I made a joke earlier this year that you got to have a cult now. You used to be a narcissist. Now the trend is you got to have a cult. And when you said cult, my ear, this isn't science, but my ear clicked like it clicks with sometimes when I'm supposed to hear something. I bet we're going to have a lot of cults pop up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, 100%. We really will. Especially, you know, as Saturn goes into Pisces, that's this like realization of the falsehood of spirituality, right? So Saturn moving into Pisces coinciding with Pluto finally moving into Aquarius, changing signs for the first time in 15 years, we're definitely going to be grappling with like some level of like irrational spiritual thought and leaders, quote unquote, right? And I know we talked about this before. I don't know if it was the last episode or the one prior, but you know, the idea of moving into the quote unquote age of Aquarius. That's a long process. We're not in the age of Aquarius. We won't be in it in the next 20 years. It's like a 200-year process of moving into the age of Aquarius. But the cool thing about it is, like, prior to the ages kind of move backwards through the zodiac. So we've been in the age of Pisces and we're moving into the age of Aquarius. That transition, like, is important because the age of Pisces is all about the chosen ones. Like, that's why Jesus is Pisces. Like that, like everybody thinks is Capricorn, right? Because we celebrate Christmas on December 25th.
But it was actually
not
June,
true.
wasn't it? June.
Jesus, yeah, Jesus is Pisces. I forget the actual birthday, but that's why Pisces is the fish, right? And Jesus, Christianity has that fish symbol. Like, so there's this idea of the chosen one, the prophet, the preacher on a pulpit, like standing and speaking to a congregation, where it's like there are a select few individuals who can channel the energy from above and deliver it to an audience. But moving into the age of Aquarius, which Pluto is really going to be a catalyst for, the next 20 years are a huge catalyst for moving into this age of Aquarius. That's where a lot of us are going to realize, wait, all of us are capable of this. There is no thing, like no such thing as a like preacher. There's no such thing as a savior or anybody who's on a pedestal above anyone else.
It's like a podcast. Anyone can have a podcast.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm very excited about that. Just everybody like kind of stepping into their power and realizing like none of us are better than anyone else, like at all. We all rely on each other and we can all learn something from each other. So I do think that's going to happen. And Aquarius rules like activism, right? So hopefully we're going to move more into that type of space. I think a funny thing, here's like a weird prediction I'll just go ahead and make it. Pluto has a lot to, I mean, it rules death. It kills things off. And it has a lot to do with like viruses. So moving into Aquarius rules blood circulation. So I do think if there is any level of mass death, especially as I said, you know, with Saturn moving into Pisces and Saturn and Neptune coinciding with like mass deaths. If there's a mass death, I think it's going to have some weird, Pluto is like bacterial, viral, fungal issues. So, but I think it's going to be something in the blood. And so I literally looked this up. I'm like, maybe it's going to be something with like parasites that are transmitted through a blood transfusion, bloodborne viruses, something like that. Like that would be sepsis or septic shock. Is that, or like any bloodborne pathogen is like something like malaria, syphilis, hep A, B, C, E, HIV. Like, I mean, I think, you know, we've got drugs against the spread of HIV now, so I don't know that HIV is going to be a thing, but like West Nile virus, yellow fever, even, these are very Pluto in Aquarius situations. So I think something like that could absolutely happen, where it's like we have another pandemic, quote unquote, but it's like it's not going to be this respiratory issue that it's been. It's going to be bloodborne. The other thing I think, which is
I have
funny,
to laugh because remember, we're into the positive things now. So the positive things are
oh God, are we?
Isn't
Oh,
that what you
God.
said? We're going to do some positive things.
I know.
And then you're like, we're all going to die of bad blood.
Am I being doom and gloom?
No, you're great. Keep going. I'm loving this. We're going
Okay.
over. In fact, I was supposed to tape another podcast after you. I pushed it back because you're so.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Okay, well, the last thing I'll say, which is just like another like random kind of prediction, because it's a prediction episode. But here's a prediction: is Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius rules air travel. It's literally anything that moves through the air. So it rules like airplane travel, and that it rules birds, right? And Pluto has a lot to do with paranoia, conspiracy theories. Have you heard that conspiracy theory about how birds aren't real?
How pigeons, they put batteries in them or something because there's no baby pigeons.
Right. Yeah. So Pluto
and everyone has a
off.
friend that had the job of putting the battery in the pigeon. Yes.
I love it. I'm like, Dad, like maybe, I don't know, Pluto might show us that that's real. Pluto is like lies and secrecy, but it's also the ultimate truth. So like, we're going to understand something or another about this sort of stuff, but it's going to kill something off and it's going to make something reborn. So part of me is like, okay, there's something going on with like the airline industry, that maybe birds, like I even think like given the bloodborne issue, right? And the amount of like endangered birds that exist right now, Pluto kills things off. It might kill off birds in the next 20 years.
Well, that is interesting. Yeah, because birds are so respiratory. They really are.
Yes. And you know, like, I mean, I hate that this is my life now, but I constantly say like, oh, I saw a TikTok about XYZ, but I saw a TikTok recently.
But some of them are good. Yes.
I know. There's a lot of this girl who's lived in China for like, I don't know, the last year basically. And she was like, here are like 10 weird things I've learned since living in China. And one of the things was, I never see birds. It's weird. It's strange that she never sees, like, it's weird to see a bird in the wild. And I'm like, that's bizarre to me. What do you mean
pollution?
Birds just don't exist in China? That's crazy.
Okay. And everything, I swear to God, everything is such a synchronicity. I'm interviewing Shanna from Black Bits right after you, and her thing will play in February, but she texted me, we got to talk about birds.
Okay, then I won't even go deeper. I'll let you guys get into that. Like, that I'm interested in. I just think there's something with birds. That's all I'm going to say. It's a big prediction that I have there. The only other thing I would say, I guess, is like aliens. Because Aquarius views itself as an alien. It's the outsider, the black sheep, the person on the fringe. It doesn't feel like it belongs. And so it rules aliens and UFOs, right? Especially UFOs, because they fly. It's air travel, right? In that sense, sort of. And Aquarius kind of rules space and the stars. So I do think Pluto's going to bring out truth regarding extraterrestrial life, one way or the other.
Yes.
So that's something I'm
you said something surprising about the airlines. They're going to be on time. That's going to be the shocking thing of 2023. The airlines might be on time.
Do you think it's so funny. Like I'm like trying to look through my phone. I screenshot something about air travel. Like I can't find it, so I'm not going to waste time on it. But
you know what? Air travel is due, and I don't just mean a change. Like it seems like this year. Okay, so full disclosure, I once went, it's a crazy story, but I once went through a wormhole and ended up in a place, driving with a friend, in a place that there was no way my car could have made it there. We literally, from Northern California, ended up in Mexico in like less than a half hour. Southern California. But it was like, what would have been a 4-hour drive? We looked up and we were in Mexico. And it was and it wouldn't be surprising if planes that were lost showed up, or weird things like that, or I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly it. Yes. Or like we just get the truth, right? Like that's That's Pluto in general. And I also think, like, because Pluto and Capricorn ruling hierarchy and Pluto ruling power, like a lot of power and information has been like gate kept from the public, the people. Aquarius is the people, and it rules, again, interconnected systems and like information access. So I do think once Pluto gets into Aquarius, we're probably going to get a lot of the secrets that have been kept from us the last 15 years,
I hope
I
so.
think are really going to start coming out. So I would expect some level of a bombshell to drop when Pluto dips into Aquarius in 2023.
And you know what? And this is, I'll put this here, and then if you have any closing thoughts, I feel like, so there was some CIA document that was leaked that people are reading that's supposed to have all this metaphysical information. I think that's a decoy. I think it's a half and half. I don't think the CIA leaks anything it's not supposed to.
Yes, I actually totally agree.
And there's a plausible deniability, which they'll give you a little bit. Here's a little truth, and then here's a lie. Take them both and run. And then because I think there's here's the thing, and I hope you're right, and I hope it's about the people, because I hope we stop being married to our political party. Because if I was the president, here's what I'd say. Even though I've said so many things on this podcast that would not make me the president, I would say, don't love me. Judge every decision as though I am the person you didn't vote for.
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like we're still, there's some of them that they're, anyways, okay, I'm going to get political. Ryan, I love you.
Yeah.
Anything closing notes, or should we just tell people where to find you?
The only other thing I'll say is like the on a personal level, it's not so collective, but just everybody watch out. Venus is going to go retrograde July 22nd through September 3rd. It's going to go retrograde in Leo. That can cause a lot of like just personal issues, because Leo is our happiness and it's what makes us feel special and unique. And Venus is the planet of love and relationship, but also like our self-confidence and self-worth. And so it going retrograde in Leo for anyone can make us like feel like unworthy. And so don't let that happen. Like July 22nd through September 3rd, great time to just like reassess your own worthiness. Of course,
Great.
Reassess your money, reassess your relationships. Cool. Like reassess, but do not let it get you down. Like that's a time frame that I'm worried for just individuals across the board. So that's the last thing I'll say astrologically.
Okay, and there's somebody told me, and I heard this somewhere, and then Renee on the predictions podcast, that there's going to be a lot of divorces. So there's going to be a lot of single people. If you're older and ready, here we go. But also, folks, and I mean this seriously, don't kill yourself. I see people kind of on the metaphysical side that are really taking a hit. Know that there is a reason that you're here. Not that there isn't a reason for other people, but we're all here for a reason. And if you're an empath, this may be a very hard year. Make friends, join groups, start your own podcast, just find things. And I will say this, 2 things. There's something I'm hoping someday to release a bonus episode that is very complicated and very, right now it looks like it's not going to happen, but I will tell you this. Number 1, for reasons that you don't have to know, what did you want to do as a child? Do it now. I was talking to Mark Pontius, and he said, so you would have been a painter if you could go back. And I was like, yeah. And my head imploded. And literally I started painting, and it changed everything about living in Utica. Secondly, remember what I said about dark entities, where I said, my name is Karen Rontowski, and I know who I am, because they want to take your mind. Something out there is definitely, when you can't make a decision, stuff like that, something is playing with you. Say your name and you know who you are. In fact, I'm going to make more t-shirts, and I think I'm going to make one that just says, I know who I am. Use that phrase over and over when you're scared, when you're sad, when you're whatever. Okay, that's it. Anything else, Ryan?
But let me double down on that, because your listeners don't know this yet, but I have a podcast launching. It's not going to be, it'll be launched like top in January.
I can't wait.
Like when it's coming out. But we interviewed you for our podcast, and you said this and that. And ever since you said that, I have been using that advice like upright, left, and down. And it is so freaking helpful. Like, that is one of the best pieces of advice I've ever had. It's like, I know who I am. I am Ryan Marquardt. I know who I am. Like, nothing can take that from me.
Oh, I love it. All right, darling. Tell everyone where they can see you. And this will be out January 3rd, I believe. So that'll be right in time for your podcast. Tell people where they can listen.
Beautiful. Yeah, my podcast will be coming out right around that time. Okay, well, let me just give you the exclusive. My podcast is called Clairannoyance. If it's not out at the time you're hearing this, it'll be out like very shortly after. But you can get all those updates on my Instagram, which is just my name, at Ryan Marquardt. I'm on TikTok. I'm kind of moving more so to TikTok right now. That's Ryan's Astrology. And my website is ryansastrology.com, and you can book me there.
Great. And you're going to text me all that so I can copy and paste it in where...
Oh, my God.
In the show notes. Thank you, Ryan. I love you. I hope I'm talking to you a lot more, but we'll definitely talk to you again halfway through the year for more predictions.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, everybody. Happy January. It's January 6th. That's when this is coming out, so it's perfect. All right, everybody. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Meeting. Thanks to Ryan. And everybody know who you are. That's my catchphrase on the way out. I know who I am. All right. Bye.
Paranormal Karen. She's a spooky kind of queen. Paranormal Karen. She's an angel without wings. Comedian, ghost hunter, conscious exploring. She's a funny gal.